And Jill, yes, we are live streaming this from the New Era PAC Facebook, but it's also connected.
This is about really making sure that we have the finances so that we can do all this great New Era project work. For just this element, which is the fellowship, we need to raise over $13,000 to make sure that we can pay our young people to be able to build up these skills and take up on these internships. But there's so much more that we're going to be doing with New Era. You're going to be learning about it from a bunch of incredible people. Today, we have incredible guests that are some of the greatest and strongest advocates that we have in the state of Maryland, whether it's within or outside of elected office. And we're going to be talking about how the New Era Project is going to empower dozens of progressive candidates to run for local and statewide office, how we're going to train the next generation of political leaders and operatives, how we're going to provide expert staff and resources so that these progressive campaigns can win, and we're going to be building a governing coalition on the left. So thank you for being here. We're so exciting. Just a couple of little notes before we start. We are going to be keeping guests muted throughout the event. So if you don't mind to keep on mute. If we want you to speak up, we'll let you know. And for our very first guest is one of my favorite student advocates. You may know her already. Her name is Anaya Taylor. She's a Baltimore Youth Poet Ambassador. You may have participated in one of the many protests that she's helped to organize against police brutality in our state, including taking over Route 83, if you were there that incredible day. She's also one of the leaders of the student strike for a safe reopening and successfully fought to make a moratorium on standardized testing in schools this school year. She didn't think it was right for students to have to go through standardized tests during this time. She is also one of the finalists for the 2020 Baltimore Sun Marylander of the Year, a member of the Healing City Baltimore Task Force, fighting for trauma-informed care across the different elements of our city. And she is a senior in high school. So without any further ado, Anaya Taylor, so excited that you're here. How you doing, Anaya? I know I see her in there.
Okay, it didn't let me unmute it.
Yay, Anaya, how are you doing?
I am like really good. I want to hi. So last night, we had the 2021 Grand Slam, which is the slam for the Baltimore City Youth Poetry Team. And not only did I win the slam, but I am Grand Slam champion, which makes me captain of the new team. And I'm super excited to just do all this stuff. So
one moment, if we can, for those who are able to unmute for a second, and a big applause for our first guest, Anaya Taylor, winning the Poetry Grand Slam. Yes! Anaya, congratulations. Not surprised. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to share with us today.
Yeah. So one, I'm going to do the piece that I did for the first round of the slam. And it's really about just this frustration that we as Black people have, specifically Black people below the poverty line, with the upper class and even like middle class people thinking like they're better than us, having all of this money and not doing anything for us, literally taking everything from us and we have nothing. And so this is really just a piece about being fed up. I think that's the best way to do it. And it's also in response to the piece that Amanda Gorman shared for the inauguration. So yeah, it's gonna be that. So there are some bad words, so that's a thing.
Yes, so if you have young children with you, just be ready to, mute when necessary. But Anaya, thank you so much. It's such a privilege to have you here. It's always really good to see you, even if it's just through Zoom. So yeah, share with us.
Thank you. I'm just gonna get into it. Money does not grow on trees, but it does hang from it. Dead presidents who set dead precedents when niggas on the bottom as their preference would become an investment. They're playing keep away with our keepsakes. How are we supposed to sit under our own vine and fig tree when they're too busy hanging us from it, neck hanging off vine while telling us that we are the fruit of our own labors. They ask us to lay down our arms while keeping the grip on the trigger. How can I put my future first when they're too busy trying to keep us in the past tense? We accept the things we cannot change and try to make sense of it. If only we could take down the patriarchy the way we take down a monument, lynch the government the way they do niggas, and leave it hanging, leave it gasping for air, and won't care for the way the white people cry as its blood drips on the street. Burn the White House like they did Rosewood. Bomb booming businesses like they did in Tulsa. Black businesses been burning for decades. So it's only right that we fire back. Gotta kill capitalism before it uses its corrupt cops to kill us, and color ain't the problem. It's politicians peckish for pelf, pushing propaganda to push us out, put money in a man's hand and watch him turn magician, making the poor disappear at the drop of a dime. Got corporations profiting off punishment, but we don't want your money. Because let us be empty calories. Let us be rich in blood. I'm tired of being hungry. I've been starving, been craving a richer flavor, and you know I got expensive taste, so bon appetit. I'm eating bones and teeth. Tell Warren Buffett to stuff it. I'm ready for my buffet. Get a plate and fork. I'm done with pork. I got beef with you bitches, and I want all the smoke, barbecuing billionaires on the 4th of July. Fuck your Independence Day. I want to eat the rich. No need to sugarcoat. Call me a bitter, strange fruit. Your piss will be used as lemonade to aid the sweet taste of your tongue. I'm making gumbo with fingers and toes. It's crunch time. I'm cracking the capital like crabs, and then smear the crade de la creme like butter. Will crumble your body before Corona does. And then use your bones as currency to pay for our surgery. We don't give a fuck about a buck when cancer has already put taxes on our family. Niggas get sticky. We don't get our hands on that stimmy, so we grab the blicky and feast on brain matter. I've heard it's a much better stimulant, and you can't say we're unjust. We're just getting our justice. This is just us getting our just desserts. Thank you guys. I am Anaya Taylor. You can follow me on Instagram at _Anaya Taylor. Thank you for having me.
Oh yes, Anaya, some snaps, applause, whatever feels right. Anaya, thank you so much for sharing with us. I think it's so important that you are opening this space for us, Anaya, because this is the world that we're living in. This is the monster that we're facing down, and these issues that we're taking on. This is life or death. These are life or death issues, and so thank you, especially Anaya, for being here, for telling us about the struggle, and everybody who's here to help lend a hand in dismantling this white supremacy and these different structures that have been oppressing us and oppressing our brothers and sisters. So thank you, Anaya. One more round of applause for our poet. So we're going to continue on. Next, we are now going to start to hear from progressive champions of Maryland, folks who have run for office, are thinking of running, are currently in the running. So time to hear from some of these incredible people. First up is going to be Gaby Sevilla. She's an attorney and legal advocate who has led work assisting people without homes and at risk of homelessness. Gaby currently serves as an Equal Justice Works Fellow with the Homeless Persons Representation Project. She's a 2020 graduate of Progressive Maryland's People Leadership Institute and plans to use the skills gained there to support progressives up and down the ballot in 2022. So Gaby Sevilla, join us.
Thank you so much, Franca. So yeah, my name is Gabriela Sevilla, and I was part of the inaugural class of the Maryland's People's Leadership Institute. A little bit about my story. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. My dad immigrated here from Ecuador, and we relied heavily sometimes on if he could find work or my mom's Social Security benefits. So we were a family who desperately needed to make sure that our food stamps were always up and running, a family that went through housing insecurity, foreclosure, eviction. We were a family that, everything that happened in our home was affected by policies made by these change makers in our community. And that's, exactly what Maryland's People's Leadership Institute is about. It's about people who care, people who understand the impact, people who want change because they're so invested in their community, invested in the outcomes because they know the impact, right? The impact could be homelessness. It could be families who are hungry. It could be, the negative impacts of the criminal legal system. And I see, Jersey love in the chat, but and that's why it's so important to invest in Maryland's People's Leadership Institute. We are the new era. We're the people who are fighting in the streets because we know what it's like. We have the direct experience. We, see it in our community. We see ourselves when we serve our people, right? So that's exactly why I'm a lawyer for people experiencing homelessness. I never want anyone else to go through what my family did, and hopefully, I'm part of the group of folks thinking about running someday, and I definitely want to do that. So so thank you so much for listening. I'll pass it.
Thank you, Gabby, so much for sharing your story. And as a fellow Jersey girl, I always enjoy hearing a good story of comeuppance from our little state. So these are the stories that this is what we're fighting for. This is what inspires us to get in here and do the work. So we're going to have our next speaker, Christy Fogel, in a second, but I want to start to plug something really exciting, which is that we're going to be having a raffle during this event, which is for 2 O's tickets, O's versus the Yankees. And it is going to be take place not too long from now, 2 weekends from now, Friday, May 14th. So I know you're sick of quarantine life. You want to get out there, enjoy some sports, go see that American pastime. So if you want to participate in this raffle, for every $5 you donate to the incredible link that is going to be shared briefly in the chat, for every multiple of 5, you get a ticket towards the raffle. You can donate a maximum of 10 tickets and watch the O's beat the Yankees on May 14th. So check it out, and you'll see the raffle link there. Thank you, Stephen, so much for sharing it. So next up, we're going to have Christy Fogel, and she is a healthcare provider, a health justice activist, founder of the Maryland Progressive Healthcare Coalition. She's a current MPLI program participant and a Progressive Maryland at-large board member. So Christy, take the stage.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Franca. As a healthcare provider and a health justice activist who's been fighting in the trenches on Medicare for All on both the state and national levels, I cannot express to you how important it is for us as progressives to band together like this and to build power electorally. For example, we are in one of the throes of the worst healthcare crises that our nation has ever faced, and yet we have been unable to adopt a universal single-payer system. Why? Because to a large extent, our government has been bought and paid for by powerful entities who stand to massively profit from the pain and suffering of communities of color, the poor, and pretty much everybody except the richest 1%. I believe as an activist and as an organizer that the grassroots issue-based organizing work that we do as progressives must work hand in hand with our electoral strategies if we're going to win this fight. We obviously do not bring about bold progressive change in the legislative arena without training, supporting, funding, and lifting up our grassroots leaders for electoral seats, both up and down the ballot. And that's why we're here today right now to introduce the New Era Project. If there is anything that this past election taught us, it's that we need an organized groundswell if we are going to achieve the bold progressive victories that aren't watered down by politics. We must build electoral power that focuses on supporting and lifting up bold, unapologetic progressives to run for office. We must give our progressive allies, like many of the speakers here today, more allies to work with and to caucus with. We can harness the energy that exists around exciting issue-based campaigns like Black Lives Matter, Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, to organize behind campaign staff and bold electoral candidates who will stand up strongly for progressive values and against the corporate influence of money in politics. But first, we have to even the playing field. And that's why I'm working with Progressive Maryland on the New Era Project, both as a current MPLI member and as an organizer of the PAC itself, to build a bold new era in Maryland politics. Enough with the political establishment setting the rules for us, bowing to the will of the for-profit entities, and then just flagrantly ignoring the will of us, the people. So far, they've gotten away with it, and it's time to shift that political power back into the hands of the people, and that's why we're here today. So for everyone that's on this call, that came here, that's watching on Facebook Live, your support is going to help lift up bold progressives to run in 2022, and MPLI members like myself to run or to support those important progressive campaigns ready to take on the status quo political establishment and big money politics here in Maryland. We can't do this without you. And I want to thank you for supporting the New Era Project and being here today.
Yes, thank you, Christy. And as someone who I lived a lot of basically my whole youth without insurance. And so these are things that are huge. And as a teacher, I see how long students go without getting basic health care, how long their parents go and they tell me what's going on. And I say, like, you need to take your mom to the doctor. You need to take your dad to the doctor. And students just cannot do it. They don't have insurance to be able to do so, or they know that the costs are going to be so astronomical. And so again, these are issues that are impacting the lives and deaths of the people that we live with, of our community. So thank you, Christy, for being a part of that fight. And thank you everybody who is here, who's donated already. And if you want to give a little bit more, you can drop a little bit of love into that raffle. So next we have coming up is Crystal Oraida. They are the former chair of the Prince George's County chapter of Progressive Maryland. And in 2018, they were the Democratic candidate for Prince George's County City Council District 7. Crystal is now the founder of the PG Changemakers Coalition, where she has led the fight for an end to police violence in Prince George's and across the state. Crystal, join us, please.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to join this such an important conversation. I'm already energized, and I hope so many of you are feeling energized as well. I'm so excited about the work that's happening on the ground to shift the power structures in our state. And as was mentioned, I ran for county council here in Prince George's County, and I lost by 30 votes. And when I started, people said that I wasn't a viable candidate. I had no name recognition, not from the county, only lived here about 3 years. I'm part of the LGBTQ community proudly. But what happened is that organizations like Progressive Maryland and unions around this county and this state made me a viable candidate. They saw that I was the right person, the person that was going to stand in solidarity with them. So 30 votes was not a loss. What that was a blow. Every single candidate that has run for office has been systematically chipping away at the system. And what I see right now with this campaign and with this collective is an opportunity to break down the establishment and the stronghold and truly usher in community leaders, people that center the voices of their community at the forefront. We have the power to build viability. We have the power to make the candidates that align with us the most viable candidates by funneling resources into their campaigns. We have to hold accountable the leaders that continue to move in opposition of the people. They have watered down criminal justice legislation that we have seen them do in this session. They disrespect leaders like Senator Jill Carter every single day. And it is time that we send allies there to stand in solidarity with her. They refuse to invest in affordable housing and rental assistance programs. They don't view healthcare as a right. They perpetuate food insecurity. They see reentry as not important, don't even see the unhoused population as worthy of their time. For me, advocacy is not a choice, it is a duty. I tell everyone I am a Black LGBTQ woman born of immigrants. I did not choose to be an advocate. I have to, because there is not a place in this country, let alone this state, where I have the ability to exist truly and fully as myself. And so this is an opportunity, everyone on this call, to join the movement. So I urge you to take the mantle of reshaping politics as we know it in this state. No longer do they make us believe that they hold the power. We have always had the opportunity to reshape the narrative. And this is our time. So I'm so excited and empowered by all of the work that's being done by all of the organizers across this state. And I ask you so much, I beg you not to let this moment pass, because we can take the power back. We can make politics no longer dirty and a bad word. We can take not just a seat at the table, burn it down and build our own. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Yes, let's burn it down and build our own. I think that's what should go on the t-shirts, Larry. So thank you so much. This is so exciting. And it's such a privilege to be here with such incredible advocates who've been really making the change that needs to happen in our state. Next, we're going to be joined by Edward Burrows. Since 2008, Edward Burrows III has served on Prince George's County Board of Education, first as a student member of the board and then as an elected member. In 2010, he won his race to represent District 8 and was the youngest elected official in the state of Maryland at that time. Now, as the longest serving member of the Board of Education, Edward has worked to elect other progressives to the Board of Education and now leads a majority of Progressive Caucus on the board. So please, Edward Burrows, join us. And so exciting. I did not realize until I was learning about you started as a student member. So we got to get this fight for full voting rights for all student members and student members on all school boards in Maryland for sure. But Edward, thanks so much for being here with us. I can see you, but I can't hear you. Oh no, Edward, we gotta give you the gift of voice. Can someone,
yes,
there we go.
Thank you. And I asked Larry to do me one favor, and that was to not have me come behind Crystal Ariata, and it didn't work. But I am so happy to be here today with all of my brothers and sisters in the progressive movement. Crystal mentioned burning it all down and building our own. And I think about future Congresswoman Nina Turner. Something that she always says is that everything we love is on the line. And that's why we're here today. Every single thing that we love as progressives, as citizens, as residents, as people who love our community is on the line. In 2008, I was a student school board member from 2008 to 2010. And I decided to run in 2010 mainly because I saw massive inequities in our school district. Schools in the northern, more affluent part of the county had one set of resources. And then in my school, it looked completely different. And so I filed in 2010. And I quickly learned that if I wanted to do something important, it was important for me to build a coalition of like-minded progressive individuals to serve on the board. In 2010, I was one of 9. Because of the work of Progressive Maryland and other groups, in 2016, our caucus grew to 3 out of 9. And in 2018, our caucus grew to 5 out of 9. And then in 2020, our caucus grew I just got a message in the chat. It grew to 7 out of 9. And it wasn't easy because the political powers and the political establishment did every single thing they could to deny us the majority vote. You had politicians, 30 politicians on one flyer endorsing our opposition. Tens of thousands, over $50,000 spent to stop us from taking the controlling vote on the board. And when I was speaking with Larry earlier today, I told him that this pack is so important because it's important for good-hearted people with the right values to have a place to turn to. It is so easy to sell out to the political establishment because they have money, power, people, volunteers. And so it's so important that we can turn to a place to receive support with people with our values. And I just want to say, back to the Nina Turner quote, everything that we love is on the line. In our short time period as a progressive bloc, we've been able to make financial literacy a graduation requirement. Over 60% of our students in our school district are on free and reduced meals. Parents can't pass down what they don't know. It's so important that we do that. That came out of the progressive bloc. We were able to pass community workforce agreements, which said that if you want to do business in our school district on this construction project, you must partner with the labor union, which will provide our county residents healthcare, benefits, retirement. That came out of our progressive bloc. Equity learning hubs. In the middle of this pandemic, we have thousands of young people at home suffering. But a nationally board certified teacher who beat the entire political establishment came in and within 2 months passed equity learning hubs to uplift our most vulnerable young people. And so this PAC and these campaigns are not about individuals, but it's really about everything that we love being on the line. And we can't afford not to band together as progressives, brothers and sisters. And so I'm just so happy to be here. Anything I can do to support, I'm down to do it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And such an inspirational story, especially to hear how this all started with being a student leader. And so I hope, I know I see some youth activists here with us today. So I hope you, learning from this really powerful story. So thank you. And all the things that we really need to be fighting for in our schools. Yeah, incredible work. Next, we have Tom Hooker. So Tom is going to be joining us. He is from Montgomery County Council District 5. He served from 2007 until 2014 as a member of the Maryland House of Delegates from District 20 and is the founder of Progressive Maryland. So Tom, join us.
Thank you so much, Franca. Thanks. That was really inspiring, Ed. Thanks so much to Larry for having me join you today. It's just incredibly inspiring to hear these stories and to be with all of you, movers and shakers, pushing Maryland toward a more progressive future. And it makes me really optimistic about the future of the state as well. It's great to be with Delegate Acevero and Councilmember Lorianne Sales and my old partner in crime, Sean Dobson, who founded Progressive Maryland with me 20 years ago. I can't believe it's been 20 years. And Heather Carroll Fisher from MCEA and many more. As Franca said, yes, Sean and I founded Progressive Maryland 20 years ago, and then I served as the executive director for the first 6 years until I tried to sort of practice what we were preaching, and following many other board members who had run for office, like Senator Susan Lee. First, I unsuccessfully tried to talk Sean into running, but he, I think, and some board members talked me into running. So I served in the Maryland House of Delegates for 8 years, and now I'm the president of the Montgomery County Council. It's great to be with you and to know and to be following all the good work you're still doing, because we've never needed Progressive Maryland more. Obviously, our nation is in the middle of urgent generational transformational change, and we're fighting every day to address crises like structural racism and inequality, climate change, our housing crisis, many other things. And without the work of leaders and advocates like all of you and so many of your members around the state that aren't with us today, we would not have made the progress on these issues that we've seen. We've seen expanded voting rights. We've seen the historic, thanks so much to Senator Carter, who I saw, but the historic repeal and replacement of the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights and a statewide use of force policy, something we did in Montgomery County last year. We've seen historic progress on healthcare and health equity and a new minimum wage and paid sick leave and many other things that Progressive Maryland has been fighting for years. Those things don't happen by themselves. You all know that they happen because of diligent, hard work and grassroots organizing that make lawmakers do what the public wants and not what the special interests want. And that doesn't happen by itself. It takes resources. So thanks to everybody for supporting Progressive Maryland. And if you haven't, or if you can again, please write another check or send another contribution, because God knows we need it. The state needs it. Progressive Maryland needs it. We all need it to have the better future we deserve. we know we have so much more to accomplish, and we can't rest on our laurels. Even with all the work in the progress in the last couple of years, the Leoba replacement fell short of what so many people were looking forward to. Historic climate legislation failed in the final days. Failure of the climate package means we're even further behind. We'll have to fight all year to make sure the climate package is expanded and more aggressive to keep up through the progress we've lost. We need to really keep our eye on the federal infrastructure package and make sure that everything that should be coming to Maryland is, and that they're spending it in the right places for progressive, forward-thinking projects that create good living wage union jobs and meet racial justice and climate goals. We have to keep fighting for Medicare for all and for a sustainable economy. But the good news is you're the ones that will make the change. You're the ones that will make that happen. Saul Alinsky years ago wrote that change comes from power and power comes from organization. In order to act, people must get together, and that is what Progressive Maryland is all about. Through Progressive Maryland, for 20 years now, we've been organizing and building power statewide. Let's keep building. Thanks for everything you're doing, and count on me to have your back and do anything I can to help.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for joining us, founder of Progressive Maryland. So great to have you here. And so we've been hearing some incredible stories about all the amazing work that is able to get done as we really decide to take on these fights. So I want us to take a moment to just breathe, stretch a little bit. We've been hearing some really, really incredible stories that have also come from a lot of pain and suffering and the witnessing of what's happening in our community. So let's just take a moment. You can stretch it out. You can need to get out of your chair for a second, do a little lap, do what you need to do, because we're about to have some heavy hitters enter the room. So in a moment, we're going to hear from Gabe Acevedo, Jill Carter, Ben Jealous. We've got a lot of really great folks joining us in the lineup. So to just ground us again, and why are we here? We're fighting for this new era project because we want to make sure that we're creating the infrastructure for the change that we're hearing about in these stories that we desperately need. And we need to be able to support those who are fighting for this change and make sure that they have the resources they need to do it, both the skills, the money to be able to win these successful campaigns. So through the New Era Project, we're going to empower dozens of progressive candidates to run for local and statewide office that can make those kind of changes that have been getting caught up in the legislature, so that we can make sure that our incredible electeds that are on the call with us have the backup that they need. We're going to train the next generation of political leaders and operatives, and not just training them through some internship that's not paid. That's not acceptable. This is an internship that's going to be paying a dignified, sustaining wage. We're going to provide the expert staff and resources so that these campaigns can win. And we're going to build a coalition on the left. This is the work of the New Era Project. That's what we're here for. Check out the sweet raffle. So if you feel like, I've donated, I've bought my ticket, but you know what? I also want to spend some time outside, get to enjoy the beautiful spring air and watch the Yankees lose. Go click that button. The link's in the chat. I know I'm definitely going to be throwing them for those tickets. Try to engage in some sports activity. Feel like a real American. Anyway, we're going to bring it back to our show. I'm so excited for our next speaker, and him always incredibly moved by his speeches and his dedication to the work and his dedication to the movement. We have Delegate Gabe Acevedo. He represents Maryland's 39th legislative district in Montgomery County. In 2018, he became the first openly gay, Afro-Latino, and one of the youngest people elected to the House of Delegates. Prior to being elected, Delegate Acevedo fought for progressive causes as an organizer and activist, such as the Maryland Dream Act, marriage and equality, transgender equality, and the Fight for 15. Since being elected, Delegate Acevedo has been a champion, we all know that's right, in the House of Delegates for racial justice, Medicare for all, universal basic income, and climate justice. So without further ado, Delegate Gabe Acevedo.
Thank you so much, Franca, and thank you to Progressive Maryland. Thank you to all of the organizers and to everyone who have chipped in to really support the work that we're trying to do here, which is to not just build power, but change our state and by extension, our country. We're all here because we believe and we're committed to the idea that a better world, a better Maryland, and a better country is possible. And in order for us to do that, we need to organize. One of my favorite organizers and revolutionaries, Stokely Carmichael, once said that organizing is the tool of the oppressed. And too often we tend to believe that in Maryland, because we are a democratic state, that because we are this progressive enclave in the South, that somehow these very issues that the rest of the country is grappling with, that we're not dealing with right here in our own state. But the reality of it is that in the Free State, in Maryland, we have the reputation of having given America the blueprint on how to institutionally, organizationally, and systematically oppress Black people in this country. We're still the state that incarcerates more Black men between the ages of 18 and 35 than any other state in the union. We're still a state that incarcerates children and have police in schools, that perpetuates a school to prison pipeline. We are still a state that relies on coal plants, and we're still a state that's grappling with environmental racism, economic injustice, and certainly the fight for Medicare for all to ensure that everyone in our state and really everyone in our country is covered and have access to quality free healthcare. This speaks to not just the work that we have to do, but the work that we need to do amongst ourselves first in terms of organizing. What we're doing today is not just organizing ourselves, but organizing our resources. And in order to change these political structures, it means that we must first organize our people, organize our resources. So again, I'll make a plug. Please chip in so that we can do this great work that has been articulated by speakers before me, from training leaders, training the next batch of progressives, but ensuring that we're building the pipeline in our state's capital. So we're getting these kind of progressive policies that we've been demanding for decades, that people in power have not been listening to us or bringing up. So we have a lot of work that we need to do, but we got to organize our resources, and then we have to organize power. It is possible, but it is only possible when we come together and we do this. I'm proud of the work that we have been able to get done this session with the passage of Anton's Law, and so grateful to be doing that work with Senator Jill P. Carter. But there is a lot of significant work that remains on police accountability. There's significant work that remains on climate justice, gender justice, racial, economic justice, LGBTQ plus liberation, and certainly protecting immigrants and immigrant families in our state. This is the work and this is the commitment that we all have to make. And what that means is supporting the people who will be committed to that change and fighting for these values and being unapologetic about it, right? This is about the progressive movement in our state. And too often people engage in this performative wokeness and this use of these various social justice terms without being committed to the policies and centering the impacted communities who really know the solutions to the very problems that we're facing here, right? So we got to do the work that we need to do. I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to be a part of it with all of you all. And as the elections come up, let's continue to be engaged. Let's continue to support progressive incumbents, but also build the bench so that other people are in power. And really, when our progressive candidates are in power, what that means is that we are in power. So thank you all so very much. Let's continue to do that work. And today, I'll say this really quickly, that today being May 1st, May Day, sending solidarity with every single worker across our state, across our country, and across this world. We still have to fight for an economy that treats workers with dignity, respect, and justice. And what we know is that as long as there is organized greed, the only thing that will counter that is organized labor. So let's continue to get strong labor unions, strong collective bargaining laws. And thank you all so very much. And I'll see you all on the front line. Solidarity.
Thank you so much, Delegate Gabe Acevedo. What a pleasure and privilege to have you here with us. Incredibly powerful. We need to back up Gabe. He has been doing so much incredible work from his seat within the House of Delegates, but we need to make sure, like he says, we got to build up that bench, make sure that we're organized and ready, have the resources needed, because we know who we're up against. We're up against corporate interests. We're up against millionaires in the state, the top 1% within our state, these huge companies that are trying to really make all the calls so that they can increase their profits instead of really looking out for the material conditions of people. So thank you, Gabe, for your incredible work. Next up, we have another fighter, fierce in the Senate. Jill Carter is with us today. Maryland State Senator Jill Carter represents the state's 41st legislative district. She previously represented the district as a member of the House of Delegates for 14 years and also served as the director of the Baltimore City Office of Civil Rights. Senator Carter is the daughter of the late Walter P. Carter, a revered civil rights activist and a central figure of Maryland's civil rights movement. Walking in her father's footsteps, she has become the state's leading champion on issues concerning police misconduct, accountability, and criminal justice reform. We all saw that happen this year. She is known as a fierce civil rights champion and a bold legislative ally of the progressive movement. Senator Jill Carter, please join us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Franca. Let me give a shout out to Christy, who reached out to me about this event, and my favorite delegate of all time, Delegate Gabriel Acevedo. It's always a pleasure to hear from you and see you. And Crystal for giving me the shout out earlier. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So, a couple of things I just want to start with before I forget. I always think of myself as a bit of a reluctant politician. When I got started in politics, there really weren't any progressives in the Maryland General Assembly that I can speak of in 2002, when I was first started in 2003, save a woman named Pauline Menace. I used to give her the credit for being the only true progressive in the Maryland General Assembly. So we've come a very long way. Today's also Law Day, and I can't not think about the fact that in addition to May Day for our workers, it's Law Day. And when I was first elected in 2003, I was the only Black woman attorney in the Maryland House of Delegates. I currently sit as the only Black woman attorney in the Maryland Senate. Isn't that amazing? One of the things I wanted to stress, I think that my personal story really highlights the need for this new era PAC. Because as I stated, when I first got elected, there weren't really any progressives, and the political establishment had a stronghold on who got elected and who stayed elected. And so the Democrat leadership in both houses, the House and the Senate, has a PAC, and that PAC doles out money to candidates, incumbents, and mainly focuses on purple Democrats that are in districts that could be challenged by Republicans. That is the priority, to save a Democratic seat, to keep the numbers where they are, to keep the numbers high in both the House and the Senate. In addition to the Democrat leadership PACs that dole out money to first purple Democrats, but then second, the favorite Democrats, and favorite Democrats tend to be those that toe the party line on moderate initiatives, even when those moderate initiatives are woefully inadequate to serve the needs of all the people. Those PACs for the entire years I was in the House of Delegates, not one time ever supported me, gave me a dime. In fact, there are times I can point to when they worked against me. They refused to help me stay elected because frankly, they didn't want me there, just as most likely they don't want delegates like Gabriel Acevedo there. Why? Because we aren't helpful to their agenda to be moderate, their agenda to be just slightly better than Republicans on a myriad of issues. In addition to the Democrat leadership PAC money that exists, there is also a cadre of political consultant organizations that are fundraisers for Democrat favored candidates, such as Carleen Martin Lauer, such as Rice Consulting. For all of the years that I was in the House of Delegates, none of those consulting firms that are for profit, that are in business, would work with me. Why? Because the Democrat Party and the Democrat leadership didn't want me there. And so this is why this is so important. I may be one of the very few people that hold elective office in the country that has become less financially secure during my long reign in politics than others. Most people make money while they're in politics, not the opposite way around. Why? Because I raise money from people that don't have a lot of money, and I've always had to contribute to my campaigns myself. That being said, that highlights the need for this. I would also give some credit to Progressive Maryland and Larry for the work that you're doing, because I can honestly tell you that even when I was first elected, Progressive Maryland was just getting off of the ground, but I was unable to really connect with Progressive Maryland back then, because so often, even when these progressive organizations form, it is in their interest or the interest of the leadership to be regarded by the Democrat establishment. And so it's so important to establish ourselves as independent of the Democrat establishment and independent of the Democratic Party leadership. As much as we love them, it is our job and obligation to push them to be better. And so Gabe mentioned, I'll wrap up with this, Gabe mentioned, highlighted so many of the areas where we still fall short. Well, it's not happenstance that we fall short. We fall short because it's not part of the Democrat leadership agenda. And in addition, let me just add a couple of more things to what he highlighted. We are still a state that doesn't have a floor, doesn't have a bottom age for when we criminalize children in the criminal justice system. Any child, no matter the age, can be arrested and criminalized, okay? We had legislation that would have fixed this year and previous years, but it didn't pass. We also are one of the minority of states now that continues to automatically charge children as adults, and we are a state that does not provide children that are arrested and put into custodial interrogations with the right to counsel. In addition to that, we fell short in a pandemic. We fell short in a pandemic of providing tenants with a right to counsel and a funding source for that, and so many other things. These are not happenstance. These occur because of what the will of the leadership is. And this is not to bash any particular person in leadership, because they basically carry the will of what they think their majority and strong Democrats need and want. And so this is why this is so important, because it should not be this difficult for Democrats that have the heart and the interest of the people to get in office, stay in office, and then have to almost, beat their head against the wall every day to work within somewhat of a hostile environment to fight their own party. So with that said, big ups, thank you. Everybody here should not only give whatever little donation you have, but you should reach out to 3 people today. 3 people today, I'm pledging to do this myself, and get them to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Carter. Such a privilege to have you here with us. And we're there with you, ready to keep fighting, take the streets, whatever we need to do to make sure that you have the pressure and the support that you need. Thank you so much for all the fighting you did this legislative session. I know we have all cried tears of despair, of joy. It has been a real roller coaster. And thank you so much for your dedication to this work. Next up, we're going to hear from Conjunto Bruja, which is actually my band, which Larry so graciously invited to share some music with you all. So we are an ensemble of women that play music from Latin America and the Middle East. And we like to use our music as opportunity to really think about what is happening in our world, and trying to use music as an entry point into the political world for many who feel like politics has kicked them out. So we were really excited to be able to support with our music this incredible work that is taking place. But very important, before we begin, I need to remind you all that this is now the last chance to submit a raffle ticket. So if you want to get a ticket to go to the O's versus Yankees, May 14th, you have the duration of the track. That is the last chance throughout the track to be able to get your raffle ticket. So while you're enjoying some good music, please go ahead, check out that link. Again, every ticket is $5. You can donate up to 10 tickets, and we'd love to see you out there at the O's game. So without any further ado, this is Conjunto Bruja in our support for the New Era PAC.
For our first song, we're going to share with you Volver a los 17 by Violeta Parra from Chile. It's a song that talks about the power of love to overcome adversity, corruption, evil. And so we start with the strength of this song, Volver a los 17, to go back to being 17 by Violeta Parra from Chile. 1, 2, 3. Volver a los 17, después de vivir un siglo, es como descifrar signos, sin ser sabio competente. Volver a ser de repente, tan frágil como un segundo. Volver a sentir profundo, como un niño frente a Dios. Eso es lo que siento yo. En este instante que cumplo.
everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Volver a los 17 is a very near and dear song to my heart. As I mentioned in the chat, it was a song that was actually prohibited during the dictatorship of Pinochet. He prohibited a lot of songs that were about hope. And this song in particular is about the power of love and the power of hope to be able to overcome all of these really awful political realities that were happening in Chile, even during her time. Violeta Parra, which was actually before the dictatorship. But so super excited you all were able to join us for that. If you'd like to check us out live, we will be performing next Saturday at Creative Alliance. And this is now the closing of the raffle. But if you're still like, but wait, I want to help the New Era Project do what it needs to do. I want to help make sure that this work can get done. You can go ahead, you can keep donating to the general link so that we can fight to empower dozens of progressive candidates to run for local statewide office, train this next generation of political leaders and operatives, and provide the expert staff and resources campaign needs to win, and build this broad coalition, this broad left coalition that we need desperately here in the state of Maryland. So up next, we have our credible guest, Ben Jealous. Ben Jealous is an American civil rights leader and social impact investor. He served as the president and chief executive officer of the NAACP at age 35. He became the organization's youngest ever national leader. The Washington Post in 2013 described him as one of the nation's most prominent civil rights leaders. Jealous ran for governor of Maryland in the 2018 election. He ran as a Democrat and won the party's nomination in the June 2018 primary, defeating Prince George's County Executive Rashern Baker and seven other candidates. Jealous was selected as president of People for the American Way and its associated foundation on June 2nd, 2020, and assumed the position June 15th. So without any further ado, Ben, so excited that you can join us. Thank you so much for being here today.
No, thank you. And I am doing double duty as dad. I'm out here at Lake
You had soccer
Bernard
practice?
Frank. No. I'm fishing. I'm fishing with my son. But I wanted to just take a moment to join everybody to support Larry's leadership, to support Progressive Maryland. I'll be giving monthly to the New Era Project. I hope everybody will. We've got to build the bench here in Maryland. Our next up Victory Fund at People For already has supported a lot of young progressives across the state, and we'll be doing more. I also want to just congratulate Jill and Gabe, all the leaders in the state government on the reform on Leobor. Of course, we needed to go further. I want to congratulate them on Vance on legalizing cannabis. We will get that done next session. We'll do it in the sort of inclusive way that Jazz has championed. I want to thank each of you for being part of a movement that we built 2 years ago to reform Leobor, to pass cannabis reform, to make sure that everybody in the state finally has health care, to make sure that every child in the state gets a great education, that we eliminate childhood poverty. All of those things are more urgent now than ever. The wealth divide in our state has gone from being like the Grand Canyon to being something even deeper than that. I raised a little over $1 million to help poor families in Baltimore, suddenly poor families in Baltimore during COVID. I remember talking to our friends at Unite Local 7 early in the pandemic, and 90% of their employees were about to get laid off in 1 week. They shut down the hotels in Baltimore and the restaurants. And it struck me that what got my family through, my mom, my grandparents through the Great Depression in Baltimore, was my granddad's job as a unionized dishwasher, the B&O Railroad. What would have happened to my family? Would I have even existed if my grandfather had lost his job? The family had been shattered by not having that support of being a unionized dishwasher during the Great Depression. And so I reached out to every friend I had, and we raised over $1 million. And feeding those families this last year. I mean, people, many of them driving in nice cars because they used to have nice jobs until COVID hit, urgently seeking food for babies, for elderly parents. And it's taught me really the importance of each of us fighting with everything in our fiber, every fiber in our body, everything we have, our soul, our heart, our minds, staying committed to this movement to ensure that everybody in Maryland gets a good education, has healthcare, can pursue the American dream, has a social safety net. We eradicate child poverty. I'm excited that my friend Wes Moore is on the call. I've known Wes since we were in our 20s. He's one of the most committed leaders I know to fighting hard on these issues. What he did at the Robin Hood Foundation, bringing them into Baltimore, was transformative. And his vision on ending childhood poverty, achieving Medicare for all, improving the education of every child in the state is exactly what we need in the next candidate for governor in this state. I'm not running this time. I've got a little boy who needs dad at home. If any of you saw him turn his back to the crowd every time I would speak and just start tying my shoelaces together, maybe you got the sense my son's not the extrovert that I am. So I'm going to make sure that he's on a firm path to college. I've been humbled. As a parent these last couple of years, I got to tell you, and deeply committed to not screwing that one up. But what I also know is that 2022 is the year we finally get a progressive in office. We finally break the color barrier down at the state capitol, the governor's mansion. And my grandma, when she worked in Annapolis, they had to put her name on her parking space because they were so unprepared to have a Black woman executive in any agency down there. And to stop her from getting harassed by the police, they put her name on her parking spot so she could just show her ID and they would leave her alone. And honestly, the state capitol hasn't changed enough. You know what? It was just we had to make it an issue a couple of years ago to get them to take down the statue of the man who wrote Plessy versus Ferguson from the Capitol grounds. We have a lot of work to do. So I want to thank everybody for building the movement. I want to congratulate Gabe for seeming a little bit more like Stokely Carmichael every time I see him speak. I want to thank Jill for her courage. And I also want to let you guys know just how excited I am that Wes is preparing to run. You'll get to know him more. If you don't know him, you can read his books and learn a lot about him. But honestly, he's exactly the leader that the state needs in this moment. And so that's why I was so excited to see him on this call today. And Progressive Maryland is the movement that I'll be committed to building in the state, supporting Larry's leadership, supporting Francis, supporting Tom's vision. It's also nice to see Tom running for comptroller. It's exactly the type of vision that we need in the comptroller's office. So with that, guys, you can see I'm going to get back to fishing, but call on me if I can ever be helpful. And again, I'll be supporting the new ERA PAC every month as a sustaining donor, and I hope each of you will too. God bless.
And thank you so much. So again, thank you for joining us, especially while you're out fishing with your family. So thank you for taking a little moment to be here with us today and to be a part of the struggle. Now we're getting ready for our last speaker to really drive us home there, Larry. And I know we're so excited. Thank you all for having been here today, for everything you've done to already support the launch of this project, the New Era project. And you've seen all the vision and all the strength that there is in Maryland politics already. We just need to really be able to have the tools, the knowledge, the expertise that we need to be able to bring in as many progressive wins as we can, and to be able to empower all of these progressive candidates, not just to run for office, not just to win office, but to have the support that they need once they get there. So without any further ado, I want to bring in Larry Stafford. Larry found his lifetime passion for organizing at the age of 17. So again, it starts young, all, but it's also never too late. He started at the age of 17 as a student volunteer and eventually as a staff member for Acorn. There, he fought against the closure of low-income apartment complexes in some of the most marginalized communities within PG County and registered hundreds of voters. He has since worked on numerous electoral and issues-based campaigns around the country, including leading field efforts for races up and down the ballot from gubernatorial contests to city council races. He became executive director of Progressive Maryland in 2015, where he has helped grow the organization's budget by 700%, led the organization's electoral efforts where they have reached over 500,000 Maryland voters and elected scores of progressive candidates, including 8 who defeated established incumbents. Larry, take us to the home.
All right. Well, I'm not going to be the one to try to follow everyone that has spoken so far today, especially my good friend Ben Jealous here. I want to thank everyone who has shared their words today and joined us in support of this new project, including the now hundreds of donors that have donated to get this project off the ground. And we're going to talk in a moment about the success we've had so far and where we're at in fundraising. But today is the start of building a powerful electoral movement that will go into 2022 and beyond. And I want to thank everyone who is committed and invested to that vision of taking power in this state. I'll just share a little quote that popped up in my head today related to the place we find ourselves now in this moment of history. And I want to also introduce our board chair, Sean Dobson, in just a moment. But behind the slogan or the name of New Era is an assessment of where we are in this moment in political and economic history. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes that sometimes is overquoted, perhaps, to those who've heard it before, but from Antonio Gramsci, when he said, "The crisis consists precisely of the fact that the old is dying and the new cannot be born. In this interregnum, a variety of morbid symptoms appear." And when I think about that phrase of a variety of morbid symptoms, we just came out of an election cycle where we were fortunate enough to defeat what amounts to American-style alternative fascism. We were this close to that being the way that our federal government would be turning. We weren't very far off from that. We just came out of a year, as a matter of fact, it might have been the beginning of this year, sometimes I lose track of time, where there were armed right-wing insurrectionists storming the Capitol building. And I stopped by today to tell y'all that just because they didn't succeed does not mean that we're in the clear. These are morbid symptoms. There's still a sickness going on in this country. And I'm also here to tell you that it's not just COVID-19. And it comes from the fact that the old is dying. The era that we've come from, where we were gutting healthcare programs, when we were cutting from the social safety net, enacting policies that divided Black and brown, Black and white, tough on crime policies that produce this era of mass incarceration that we're still in. as we were expanding war and conquest around the globe, those old ways are coming into a headwind, starting even in the 2007 financial crash, the deregulation that we had of our economy starting from the 70s and 80s. They brought us to this place where the old is dying. And the pandemic has merely revealed the inadequacies that this old way of doing politics, this old way of doing economics, has revealed the inadequacies in that system. And so for the new to be born, we have to stand up. We have to pull together, or else we will succumb to our symptoms. If we don't build something new, something better for this country and this society by having perhaps pessimism of the intellect, but optimism of the will, another Gramsci quote, optimism of our will and the willpower, we won't succeed. And that's what this project is about. And I thank everyone for making your contributions. Any amount definitely matters. I really appreciate everyone who's brought in. And we're also going to need that same energy for making phone calls, knocking on doors, so that we forge this new era that we want to build. So I promised folks that I wouldn't take too long or get to speechifying or preachifying, anything of that sort. Also want to introduce our amazing board chair, Sean Dobson, as well, who is here. And I want to thank everyone who has made a contribution. And let's start the slides to show where we are so far. Even as we're here right now, I see even more people donating small contributions in the raffle and contributing to the event here. So thank you all for that. I want to also thank particularly our sponsors. So go back a page, our big sponsors that have helped to lay the foundation for the New Era PAC. I don't know if we can go back a page, but I know I want to give a big thank you to SEIU 1199, of course, UFCW Local 400, some of our affiliate partners, LIUNA, the Transit Union workers as well, People's Action for stepping up. And of course, we've got Peter Kovar, a Tacoma Park City Council member who stepped up to be a big sponsor with the event. And thank you also to Wes Moore, who has joined us today. So shout out to him, send him a message of thanks and appreciation, and I wish you well as you consider this potential run here. But thank you for stopping by and being with us throughout this whole day. And then I also want to thank, in the next slide here, everyone. Oh, and there are even more co-sponsors: Brian Wolfook, Lawrence Ottinger, Marty Kearns, Ed Hatcher, Tom Hucker, everyone. If you're here, thank you so much. And then the amazing number of sponsors that we've had and founding donors rather that we've had as well. So yeah, we've gotten so many contributions today. So even if your name is not up here, thank you. Thank you so much. So here's where we are so far in fundraising. So we have raised over $20,000 so far. Over $25,000. Okay, I think that's been updated since I last looked at the Act Blue. And we have over 250 individual contributions right now. So everybody should give themselves a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. This is going to go towards building the progressive infrastructure in the state so that we play the long game, but make significant victories in 2022. So thank you all once again. I don't know if I can say thank you enough. I'll beat it like a dead horse or something. But let's now go to, I think what some people may be waiting for. I'm thankful for all the 80 or so people that have stayed on perhaps to see if they won the raffle. Is that where I'm at next, Franca?
Yeah, let's check this out. I think people are ready to know if they're going to be spending the weekend with the O's.
All right,
So
so
let's get that raffle spinner up on the screen and get this Wheel of Fortune magic going.
okay. So while we're waiting on
Do you like to watch baseball, Larry?
for today, yes, I love baseball. Yeah.
You into the sports?
I'm into all of the sports. Well, I'm not a baseball person, but I will say if I were able to go out to the Orioles field, it'd be a lot better than sitting in my house watching The Circle on Netflix, which is what I'm doing.
Whoa, I see Jill Carter's got her name in there a few times. So let's see if we're gonna send the senator to the old ball ring or whatever it's called. The ball field.
I sing that song now. Take me out to
I'm an immigrant, everyone. I feel like I get a pass.
So how does this thing work? This fancy technology.
Oh, there it goes.
We're spinning.
Yeah.
Round and round and round and round it goes. Will it stop? Nobody knows.
Wow, Zachary Frank. Congratulations. Yes. So get ready, get your I don't know, whatever you need to do to get ready for a ball game. Get your favorite baseball hat on and your gear and your knee pads, whatever you need to be out there in the stands. Just kidding, everybody. I don't really do sports. Anyway, Zachary, you're gonna have a great time with the O's, watching them crush those Yankees. We'll all light a candle for them that day. And thank you, everybody. Thank you all for your incredible donations. 25K, everybody. That's crazy. That's amazing. I believe when we first set the goal, I want to say we were thinking about 15, hopefully 15 by the end of today's event. So congratulations to all the hard work that went into raising $25,000. Yes, so thank you for the donations you gave, or it was $5 of a raffle ticket, or our many unions that supported with much more. Makes a huge difference and really gets us into a place where we can pay our youth that are going to be participating in this 10-week fellowship program so that they can become the political figures or operatives that they want to be and be paid while they gain that experience, not having to do these unpaid internships. And also so we have the resources to be able to support huge fighters like some of the folks that we've seen speak today. A big round of applause again for all of our guests and speakers and poets. Yes, thank you. And Larry, what are some next steps for people? What should they do now that they know about this project that's going down?
Hey, and I gotta give a special shout out to you, Franca. Thank you so much for emceeing this. Franca has been amazing, so thank you as well. And yeah, so one of the next steps you'll see in the chat, Zach just dropped in the chat our form, our action survey. We want folks to fill out that survey. Let us know what you think. Let us know the ways that you want to contribute your time or energy into supporting this project. Yeah, just take the action survey, do it right now while you're still here. And so you don't forget, so we can hear from you about being involved. I also see Delegate Sheila Ruth in the chat. Thank you so much, Delegate. Also a graduate of our 2020 Maryland People Leadership Institute. Shout out to all of the folks with the People's Leadership Institute that have joined us today. Really appreciate y'all taking the time on your Saturday. So yeah, fill out the form and we will be in touch with regards to some of the next upcoming events and actions we'll be taking to build this new era, to forge this new era by our own hands and our own will. So thank you again. And the form is in the chat again. Look at it right there. Fill it out. Fill it out. Take the time to fill that out.
Yes, we need to know. So smash that survey link and let us know what you're thinking about. Yep, we gotta, yes. But thank you all so much. Larry, thanks again for helping to pull this all together, and the incredible team at Business. So big shout out to the committee of folks involved with the New Era PAC. And Larry, I know that we've got some folks here still hanging tight with us, getting ready to move on. But what about folks that want to be a part of this committee and want to get involved? Who should they email?
Yeah, send either me or Franca or Christy an email. We can drop our emails in the chat. Copy us right here. Thank you so much also to the committee. How could I forget Charity, Stephen, others? I may forget names, but everybody who was a part of planning this as well. Thank you to the staff organizers with Progressive Maryland who took time on a Saturday to join us here and help with the chat and everything. But yeah, so you can email me at larry@progressivemaryland.org. Christy, you can drop your email because I always give the wrong one because you got that new email now.
Just did.
But there we go, kfogel@mdphcoalition.org right there. Shoot us an email and fill out the form as well.
All right, and without any further ado, oh, sorry, go ahead, Larry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Christiana can play us out with some music or something.
Yep, that's right. Let's hear some of those jams.